Saturday, 23rd of August at 2:16 p.m. here in Snohomish, Washington, United States of America. Welcome once again to our Cosmic Journey. It is your Dev and Design podcast highlighting how two astrology boys got into a cycle and finally released a bunch of stuff while making the world's best astrology software. I am your designer, Jake. Oh, I was going to point to his physical being. He is your engineer, Trey, but he's actually over there. Hello, Trey.
Hello, Jake.
I can look at him over there, but you don't see it that way.
No.
And do we have camera 3? Of course not. Why
No.
would we have camera 3?
Because it's a pain in the butt to set up, and we do these every week. Who can be bothered?
You know, I've been told that if you show up every week, eventually you go viral. We're still waiting for that day. Still waiting for that day.
I think we're up to 50 views.
There was one episode called Null that had like 300 views, and I think it was a complete anomaly. And if any real YouTuber wants to take this piece of knowledge and call their episode Null, I think you'll get about 10 times the number of views. 2 million, 200 million. But you know what? Who's watching this podcast? No one's ever going to get that. It's okay. Today's episode is called Release Me, and it is lots of things that we have done to get a piece of software in your hands. We're not ready to release yet, so Release Me actually has to deal with Zodiacal Releasing. However, it is also a nice excuse for us to think that we shall release one day. Today, we will be talking about aspects. We'll be talking about Zodiacal Releasing. We'll also show some perspective stuff before we get to all of that. Of course, Mr. Henry, we have to start with the check-in question. Mr. Henry, I believe that we're of an age now where we are taking what I would consider to be maintenance medications, whether those things are prescribed by a doctor or things that we think that we should be taking, such as collagen and creatine and protein powders and...
Oh, which reminds me, I haven't taken creatine today.
Unguents. You got to take your creatine today.
Yeah.
See, this is the problem, right? And so you've got some of us do this through an app, some of us do this through a pill box. I'm not going to shame you into showing the pill box on camera. The question I have for you is, what thing would you want to get from a supplement that you can't get today? So, for example, like it could be something about happiness. It could be something about abs. Like, what is your supplement of choice that you would say, you know what, I'm going to take this twice daily for the rest of my life because I just want this in pill form?
So I have been playing a lot of Cyberpunk 2077 lately, which is a video game based in the Cyberpunk universe. And that's probably going to color my answer, which is that I want a pill that gives me more short-term memory. More brain RAM.
You want brain RAM?
Yeah. I think it's really my biggest shortcoming when it comes to being a software engineer, because holding a complex model in your mind at one time and being able to navigate it mentally, like I'm really good at the creative aspects of that, but I have to do a lot of swapping to get the whole thing, so that I can talk through things or whatever, which there's always this kind of like seek time in between. Like I just really would like to have...
Your hard drive is not solid state. Your hard drive is...
Well, I think my hard drive is actually fairly decent. I think it is the RAM.
It's got the ball bearing. Oh, I see. You have too much paging happening.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly correct.
Your paging file is full.
Yeah, exactly. So that would be it. Like I would take however many pills a day to increase my short-term memory.
Okay, so the question is, I think we've rephrased the question to, how many pills would you take not through your mouth? Like you have to take 6 pills a day, not through your mouth, for the rest of your life. What is the benefit you get from that? And so yours is you want better short-term memory.
Yes, short-term memory. Yeah.
For me, I would love to take 6 pills a day that are not going through my mouth so that I could be good at marketing. And if someone could just give me 6 pills a day and do the option that is not through the mouth so that I could ideate on content, create a content plan, do the filming, get everything batched and ready to go, and have these things actually live in a sphere where we have an audience that is being built and that we've got the marketing machine going, I would gladly gladly take a pill for this. You have no idea. 6 pills, in fact. Not through the
Six
mouth.
non-oral pills.
6 pills. They go somewhere. They're not in the mouth. No, good check-in. So short-term memory and marketing. Good check-in.
Yeah.
Good check-in.
Fun times.
You had done, with the interns, and I had done a bunch of stuff this week.
Yeah.
I think there was
Good
just
team
a
effort.
lot of things that ended up hitting all at once. And so what we're going to do really, I think at this point, is just go through the first run experience to the chart. Then we'll show some other things there and show the tremendous crush of work that came in here that is going to end with Zodiacal Releasing, our favorite Time Lord technique.
Yes.
Not that we show preferences, but
Yeah, first run experience. The user has seen this before. The user,
the user, the viewer.
the viewer has seen this before. So few
But
things
what
to
we
note.
haven't seen before? Look at how nice that drop down looks now. So that drop down used to be real like super black.
Yeah.
And we'll show you in assembly how it looks like on a future screen. But now it looks like it's part of a family. Oh, and you can change that. And actually, if you refresh the screen right now after going to Stellar Light,
Oh yeah, it'll restart.
it can restart the thing, and it's readable.
Yes.
Which is great. So I redid this just
Yeah.
in case.
It used to be that if you ran into that corner case, you
It
you were
looked
kind of
bad.
screwed. Again, the nice drop down.
Yeah.
And so we'll just pick Hellenistic here. Actually, I'll switch through a few. So we now have a preview, a really nice preview card of the perspective.
Yes. If you can feel free to switch them between these. These are the system perspectives, and this isn't fully fleshed out yet. But what this card does is explains to you not only the tradition that you are going to get, but also the house system and the points that are shown. We had some bugs here that we had to also fix. And then there's that description at the bottom there. This used to look really ugly before. I will say that in the simple mode, it's like this blue card, which is not my favorite, but you know what? That's okay. It's simple. Yeah, so it's a blue card.
Oh yeah,
It's okay.
it's okay.
It's okay. Now go to Stellar Light,
I'm really impressed with Stellar Light. I think it's my favorite theme.
which is crazy. To create a light theme that Trey likes is, I think, my greatest UI design accomplishment.
I think so too. At least for visual design.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. UI,
Yeah.
UI visual design. Look, I'm a great UX designer. I would never consider myself a great UI designer, but for Trey to like that,
Yep.
insane.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. Oh yeah.
This isn't styled yet, but I'm going to restyle this in a little bit.
Okay.
There's
so
the chart.
Here's my birth chart.
There she is.
Here we are on the chart page. Oh, you know what? I just remembered there's something else I'll quickly show too. If I go back here, so you'll notice that there is a last opened, which is actually a relative date. So if I create a new chart here, and I'll just create a chart for now, basically, you can see that this was last opened 2 seconds ago, and this was last opened a minute ago. If I open this one,
Now
and go
you can
back,
see in real
it's like,
time
yay!
how much editing we do based upon what those last opens are going to be,
Yeah. So. Yeah, that's true.
which is great. We're going to have continuity issues all over the place.
All over the place. One of the really exciting things, and this was a lot of work that was actually done last cycle, but didn't land fully last cycle, so we didn't demo it, which is aspects.
Aspects. Now that's the old styling of the aspect. Here, I'll go over here for a second. That's the old styling of the aspects. This is what I was designing before we had a assembled page on the right-hand side, the details page. It's been sitting in the queue for a long time. I understand why Trey was reticent to do it because it's difficult.
It's very difficult.
Because
we're
there's
actually
a lot
going
of
to.
different calculation methods. There's
Yeah.
Hey, if you're here and you know something about astrology, I think you know that aspects are challenging, depending on whether you're Hellenistic, Renaissance, modern, all types.
Well, and
of
even
issues.
even within any of those categories of sort of different mechanisms of calculating aspects, there are some interesting things that have emerged that I've actually learned some things about astrology by going through this process. Because this is my natal chart, and I was looking at the aspects after implementing
yes.
them, and I noticed that I had a Mars separating from Venus aspect. And this seems impossible
How
because
is that? How could that be?
Mars should not be doing anything to Venus. It should be the other way around, because Venus is the slower planet by average daily motion. And when we eyeball a chart, when most astrologers, myself included, eyeball a chart, you're looking at, where is it in the sign? What is the aspect between the two signs? And then how far away are they? And then you look at, and then, you sort of you memorize the kind of relative speed, the average daily motion of each planet. And so you say, like the moon is going to be faster than Mercury, which is going to be faster than Venus, which is going to be faster than the sun, et cetera, all the way down. And then you would say that like, okay, well, Venus would be either applying or separating from Mars, because Venus is a faster planet, generally speaking.
Average daily motion,
if they're
that's
both,
correct.
Yeah, if they're both direct, right? Now, if one of them is retrograde, then you switch that up. But it's actually not just whether or not it's retrograde or direct. It's actually what is its real speed.
Correct.
And this is where, if you're doing something where the aspect, whether or not the aspect forms, for example, is really important. Like, for example, in horary, where you need to see if an aspect perfects, you will really need to know whether or not who's moving faster. We have this label, which we've shown in the past, that shows the exact value of the speed. If I look at my Venus from my natal chart, her speed is 0.51 degrees of daily motion at this moment in time when I was born. And if I go and I look at Mars, you can see that Mars is actually at 0.55
faster
speed. So Mars right now in my chart is actually faster than Venus, which is why Mars is doing something to Venus instead of the other way around. And then the same holds true here, where Mars is applying to a square of my debilitated Mercury, because my Mercury is retrograde. So it's just really cool being able to see this with actual real values. However, that might be confusing to people. Take it away, Jake.
So while things are confusing, we have to make decisions about how we're going to present data. At a certain point, not everything can be up in the air. We have to make decisions about what is astrologically sound when we declare something. So in an aspect, we say the faster body, the aspect, applying, separating, the slower body. And so the question then becomes, in this user education article, who applies to whom? There are times when the aspects will seem flipped, when the planet of the lower daily average speed will be the faster planet, and the planet with the higher daily average speed will be the slower one. And what we do in user education articles is we bring it back to traditional texts, or texts that are modernly written that then pull from traditional texts, depending on what your astrology is. So for this one, we think that John Frowley, in the Horary Astrology Revised Edition book, when I say it's essential to know which planet is moving faster, I mean which planet is moving faster right now, which is not always the same as which generally moves faster. I just really enjoy his writing. He makes it real in a way that feels very visceral, which I really appreciate. And because Trey's natal chart is, of course, filled with gobbledygook, we're going to show Trey's natal chart and explain the relationship between Venus and Mars in this user education article, which when you go to our software one day and you see this and you're like, that seems weird, that is a nice place to explain to somebody when something is weird, here's why it's weird. And this is what we're going to do. If we get a bunch of feedback that says, I don't really appreciate your weirdness, we're open to it. You can always write us. You just let us know. hello@cosmic.plumbing. That's the address. It's probably at the bottom of your screen right now, if I did my job right.
It is very, very cool that it is just doing this out of the gate. And if it does turn out that it's like some people do actually want it to always show sort of like average daily motion with the ability to kind of drill into the actual, that might be something that we include in a perspective.
Maybe.
But my feeling on this with my practice of astrology is that this is fantastic because it is showing, as Frowley says, the actual, not the sort of imagined average daily motion. The other thing because we're only showing my chart with what we call our sort of Hellenistic perspective, which is showing whole sign houses. It's showing the traditional 7 planets plus the lots that we currently support, which is Fortune, Eros, and Spirit. It's also using planet-based orbs. So each planet has an orb amount to it. We're not currently showing when one thing sees the other thing, but not vice versa. Hint, there is one in this chart.
So this is the traditional astrology concept of testimony or testament, where there is a ray that can see. That ray, usually you can talk about it from whole signs, whether they see both ways. But if you start looking at the ray in terms of like a set of planetary degrees in which the planet can see, you will get this thing where sometimes you get one way aspect. So it will go that way, but it won't go that way.
Yeah, exactly. So then there's also, so we also support in aspects right now. So that's actually in there. We're just not showing it.
Yeah.
That it's actually supported in the calculation. We also are supporting modern aspects. So these are aspects where the orb is per aspect. Most modern astrologers use this method. So squares have a certain orb, trines have a certain orb, etc. Yep. Those orbs are also values which can be changed. They'll be defaulted to something. And then we also, we have moiety coming. It's not currently in there, but it will be in there shortly. And then we also have the ability to say, I only want to show aspects if they are in sign. In other words, modern astrologers will often look at out of sign aspects. So if a planet has moved, if one planet is forming an aspect with another planet, but the signs that they are in don't form that aspect, then normally in traditional astrology, you would say there's no aspect there. And that's the method that I use as well. But modern astrologers will often have it be support out of sign aspects.
Yeah, and big shout out, of course, to OOUX for helping us
Huge.
Really break this all down. So
Yeah.
let me go back to my small screen here. So all of this had been calculated had been documented in this piece of metadata, which is a very seemingly small piece of metadata on perspective that's called aspect calculation method. But you can see here the potential values of by modern orb, by sign, by orb and sign, blah, blah, blah. I think we've talked about this before. Going through this level of detail and going into each of these separate types of aspect calculation methods and going into like, this is exactly how it's going to be. Aspect calculation methods will be available within milestone 1, but we have a roadmap that we go and deal with all this stuff. I could only imagine the horror it would be if we had discovered this later and baked in a bunch of assumptions ahead of time that then we had to unfurl and unpeel. And no shade to 2020 Trey when he was making Urania, but Trey made a very solid assumption that there was that the aspects were based on a degree of the aspect and the closeness of that degree.
Yeah,
and
that's what all of the books that I had told me.
And we've learned otherwise.
Yes.
And without that knowledge, without that astrological knowledge, thank you astrologers for writing this stuff, and without OUX for the system level modeling that goes into that, these two things could never marry. And I think that's why you see today astrology software not handle this stuff really well. I don't want to be too proud about this because we will have our own assumptions.
I think it's
one day.
We have in software engineering, there's a name for this, which is painting yourself into a corner. And so this is the phrase that we use to say basically that you made some bad assumptions early on, which then kind of forced you to end up in a kind of not great situation. So we really took our time here, and we'll hopefully give you something that is, as Jake likes to say, 100% better than what is on the market.
That's the only way you're all going to switch. Trust me.
Yep.
I know you. I know your psychology. So before Trey moves on, I'll just say that, remember Dan from last week? It was his birthday. We decided to do a little bit of an astrology reading for Dan. We used our software to do it, and I think Trey and I got a whole lot more confidence while using this software, going through an interpretation for Dan and for other people in Dan's life, or have formerly been in Dan's life.
And for people that watch that episode too, which you should watch, he is, let's say, not the most open, or wasn't the most open to astrology as an entire practice. Dan is a very, very loved,
he's a
wonderful
beloved character, but
friend of ours, very, very close friend. And you should always have close friends that don't necessarily believe what you do.
Yeah, he can be a little sharp.
Yeah,
sometimes.
We love you, Dan.
We love you, Dan.
Also, I think that what Jake's about to talk through actually cracked open astrology for Dan, which is amazing.
Yeah, so anyways, we were using this software as it stands today, actually not even this good, to go through and talk about the natal chart and the natal promise for Dan, other people in Dan's life. We were comparing and contrasting their charts to Dan's chart, and then we jumped to Zodiacal Releasing because we wanted to go through some of the peak periods that might be coming up for Dan. And this is from the Interns. And so Trey is going to go right now to a URL that you cannot see on the screen right now, but I guarantee you that he is typing right now because I see his little screen bouncing.
Ta-da!
Yeah, and I'm going to have to go to...
This is the first time we're showing the work that the Interns have been working on for quite some time now.
And I feel bad that the Interns can't be here, but right now they just can't be here for this. So
yeah, our schedules kind of mismatch.
Yeah, also like
the videos.
Who does this on a Saturday? So this is the Zodiacal Releasing for Trey. Is that correct?
Yeah, this is my Zodiacal Releasing. So we're looking at releasing from Lot of Spirit currently.
God, you've been in a major peak period now for a long time.
Yeah, we'll get there. So because we'll talk through it a little bit. Right now, and at M1, so our release to the public, we will support releasing from the Lot of Fortune, Lot of Spirit, and Lot of Eros. Imagine a nice looking drop down that says Lot of Fortune, Lot of Spirit, Lot of Eros.
Yes.
And a funny thing about my chart is that the Lot of Spirit and the Lot of Eros are actually in the same sign. They are the same releasing periods, which means my love life, my relationship life coincides with my sort of like career and life path.
And for the viewer, and I need to go to 2UP for this one because I don't think that they know our origin story. Trey was at my candidate dinner at Microsoft in the year 2000, which is how we met. So Trey be banging at work, and that's how we got together. And so it makes perfect sense that his Lot of Eros and Lot of Spirit are together. Because it's like the career plus the love life.
Yeah,
like, I don't think you've very rarely ever had success in dating outside of
work.
Of work.
And and then the person that I spend my life with is I met at a tech company that I was working for, and then started a company with.
Oh yeah, there's this too.
There's also this.
There's also this. So that makes sense.
It's great. Anyway, this is something that nobody else does. And it's such a miss, and we do it, and it's amazing, which is that we show you, so depending upon the sect of the chart, so I have a day sect chart, my big good is Jupiter, my big bad is Mars.
Your big malefic.
And so my greater benefic and greater malefic. We also now show when the sign is activated in which there is an angle to one of these planets, then we show it. So you can see whether or not that period will be subjectively perceived to be more difficult, caustic, and grinding gears, and all of the things that might come with one of your malefic planets, versus when things seem to kind of like soar, or maybe when they're sort of like kind of in the middle, or maybe sometimes like with Zodiacal Releasing periods of a good friend of the company who's been on the show before, where they both occur in the same signs.
Yeah,
and so
mine
those periods.
Too.
Oh, yours does too. Oh, yeah.
I've got my big malefic, my big benefic are
angular to each other.
So I will always have a mixed bag.
Yeah, and then it's kind of cool because you can also see which one is, depending upon which sign is activated in that sort of cross of signs, you can see which ones are the ones that are going to be inferior and superior. So like which one probably matters more? Like, are you going to have sort of like more peaks with adjacent valleys, or are you going to have more valleys with adjacent peaks, which is kind of cool. Anyway, so I've got this, we can drill down. And so now you can see that we're looking at L2 periods, which are slightly, by the way, if you're not familiar with Zodiacal Releasing, we're not going to go into Zodiacal Releasing right now in depth, other
just
than
know
to
that
say,
like it's a Time Lord technique, and
it's great.
It's great.
It's really good. It sort of breaks the life up into chapters.
It breaks up your life into chapters.
It's really, really fantastic.
Paragraphs and sentences and all that stuff.
A cool thing that we have here is when you expand out a parent period, it tells you what the end period is, because otherwise you'd have to like go all the way down and look at this. We really tried to make it so that the stuff that is annoying about just like a big long list of periods is kind of fixed. But it's interesting to note, so I am in a Cancer peak period.
Which is funny,
major
that
peak period.
started right when your last company sold.
Yes.
Which is insane.
There's actually a couple of things that are really interesting about this start period as well, because my reintroduction to magic happened right about here too.
Interesting.
Anyway, so I have this major peak period, which I've been in at the L1 level, which goes till 2041. So these periods, these L1 periods are very long.
Cancer is, yeah.
And Cancer is a particularly long one.
Yep.
And because of that, a special thing happens where you will eventually loop through all of the signs of the zodiac. And then when you get back to the original sign, which is Cancer, it'll actually flip to the other side of the zodiac in what's called the loosing of the bond, which generally for people tends to be big life changes happen in those periods. And so I'm in this Cancer period, and the period that I'm in right now, which is this Capricorn period, this is the first time that Capricorn will appear. And if you know your zodiac, you'll know that Capricorn is opposite of Cancer.
Right.
So when I get to my loosing of the bond, which will happen in 2033, the loosing of the bond that will happen in 2033 is being actually foreshadowed in a very sort of narrative way in my life right now. And so it's interesting to think about like what things are happening in my life right now in this current period that are foreshadowing what might happen in that loosing of the bond. Anyway, and then I can drill down from my L2s into my L3, and I'm in this current L3 period. And then I can drill from that down into L4 periods, which are the furthest that we go right now. You can drill down even further in theory, but I think this is about as far as anybody realistically goes.
I've never seen beyond L4. We're gonna stay
So
there.
L4 is kind of like the weak level, or like if you're using the my life as a book, and then the L1s are chapters, and then it goes down to paragraphs, and then it goes down to sentences. You know, so these are like
Because chapters,
words.
sections, paragraphs, words.
Yeah, something
Or
like
sorry,
that.
Sentences. Yes.
Using that metaphor. But anyway, yeah. So then you can drill all the way down to these periods as well.
I think you and I are both in peak periods right now, which means that we should really release this software. It seems ripe for the making.
So anyway, so another really cool big amount of work that landed here. I think this is going to be such a huge thing for people to have in their hands. This is Zodiacal Releasing is what kind of, I think, cracked it open for Dan, because Dan had a lot of really good questions about like, how is this useful to me? Like, you're telling me these generalities, like what do I get out of this? And I was like, all right, like let's look at these periods in relation to the stuff that's happened in your life recently. And then let's look at what's in your natal chart, and let's try to see which things we can that are, let's say, strengths in your natal promise that you can lean into when dealing with these other situations in your life. And I think that really resonated for him. So it's a really powerful tool, and you'll be able to get here just by clicking on a button. One caveat to all of this: while in M1 this will be available for free, we are currently thinking that this will be a paid feature.
The idea is that when you are a practitioner and you're going in, you can start outlining things or like questions in somebody's life. When you're looking at their zodiacal releasing periods, you can imagine that you can hit a CTA and say like, here are the questions that I have for my client now about this, or are there things that happened here? And
or these are the things that we discussed about these periods last time.
Or afterwards, after you have the consultation, here are the things that we discussed and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And so
especially useful for pre-loosing of the bonds, like I was just describing.
Yeah. We just assume that it's going to be very powerful for practitioners, and we want to make sure that these practitioner features are things that we can focus on, and to focus on those things, we do need some compensation. Because
exactly. We want to continue making the software until forever.
Until kingdom come.
Until kingdom comes.
So that's
the way that we do that is by charging you your money so that we can continue to feed ourselves while we make the software.
Yeah. Last thing, quickly go into the perspective details page, because I wanted to show you how it's harmonized as a whole. And look, now we've got input fields and drop-down fields and what's called list selector fields, all looking like they are part of a family.
Probably can't see that.
So very excited about that. You will see more about perspective details soon, but we're not going to bore the poor viewer with anything else. If you've made it this far, it's still very long. Mr. Henry, what should the good viewer do with their beautiful time and their precious energy today?
Find a county fair and go to it.
Find a county fair and go do it. Not what I thought you were going to say. What I thought you were going to say is find some medication and don't put it in your mouth. But you know what? That works too. Be well, take care, go have a fun time at a county fair. Go eat something fried on a stick. That's what it's there for.
Absolutely.
We will see you next week, and we love seeing you here every week, and we hope you have a beautiful day. Take care, and goodbye.
Bye.